It started on a crowded interstellar transport hub orbiting Earth, Terminal 9 of the Unity Port Station, the kind of place where the air always carried the scent of fuel and fried street food, and every 5 minutes a new language echoed over. The intercom. Ships from across the galaxy docked there daily, their passengers flooding in from the stars, brushing shoulders with humans like it was just another Monday. But this day, this one wasn't ordinary. This was the day everything started to change, and it all began with a seat on a crowded Earth-bound shuttle. Jaden Carter didn't look like someone who'd shake the galaxy. 17 years old, tall, lanky, sharp eyes always half-lidded like he was carrying the weight of something unspoken. A kid from Southside Chicago who'd never left Earth until 6 weeks ago when his high school science project won a regional contest and earned him a scholarship ticket to an interstellar youth conference on Europa Prime. He'd never flown off planet before, never even left the state. Now here he was, surrounded by creatures whose skin glowed in shades his brain struggled to register, hearing accents twisted by alien mouths, all while clutching his small satchel and trying not to get in anyone's way. The shuttle back to Earth was packed. No surprise there. It always was during repatriation week. Humans returning from alien internships, scientists done with off-world projects, families bringing kids home from space academies. Jaden stood in the aisle, swaying gently as the shuttle lifted from the bay, trying to keep his balance. That's when he saw her. She was human, white, maybe late 20s, exhausted. A hand pressed to the small of her back, her belly round with pregnancy. Her skin was pale, like she hadn't been in Earth's sun in months. Her eyes met Jaden's briefly, then slid away like she didn't expect anything from him. Without a word, Jaden tapped the seat in front of him, the one he'd snagged early, and stepped aside. She blinked, surprised. "You sure?" she asked. Her voice dry, like she hadn't spoken much today. Jaden just nodded and gave a small, tired smile. He was raised right. Some things didn't change no matter what part of the galaxy you were in. She sat down with a grateful sigh, murmured a thank you, and closed her eyes. That should have been the end of it. But after a few minutes, she fumbled in her bag and handed Jaden a folded note. "I think you should read this," she said quietly, without meeting his eyes. "It's not mine. I was told to pass it along if I ever saw you. Or someone like you." He stared at the note, then at her, trying to figure out if this was some kind of prank. But the look on her face said it wasn't. The note was handwritten, on paper, actual paper. Most folks hadn't used it in decades. The handwriting was sharp, clear, elegant. The kind of handwriting people took their time with. That's what got Jaden unsettled the most. Not the message, but the care in it. Like whoever wrote it knew he'd be reading it. Like they'd been waiting. Jaden Carter, it read. "The council was wrong. They think humans are a threat. They don't understand the real danger. And they won't until it's too late. But you're the variable we didn't expect. You're the reason some of us still believe." His blood went cold, his name. In a message that wasn't supposed to exist. From someone who clearly knew more than they should. He looked up, heart thudding. "Who gave this to you?" he asked. The woman just shook her head slowly, as if even saying it out loud would be a risk. "She said you'd ask that," she said, and then gave him a half smile. "She said not to trust the quiet ones, especially the ones with silver in their eyes." Before he could ask more, the shuttle jolted hard. Something outside the hull thudded against it like a fist. Everyone gasped, looking around while the lights flickered and dimmed. Then came the alarms. Incoming craft. Unauthorized approach. Shields compromised. Jaden turned toward the viewport just in time to see a sleek vessel dart across their path. No markings, no signature, too fast to be legal. And it wasn't human. Back at the Unity port, alarms blared in languages Jaden didn't recognize while security scrambled to respond. But they were already too late. Whatever was coming, it was already here, because somewhere out there a decision had been made. The Galactic Council's warning had been ignored. The aliens had underestimated humanity. And now they were about to pay the price. Jaden didn't know it yet, but that, one small act of kindness, giving up his seat, had just unlocked a chain of events that would ripple through the stars. The note was only the beginning. Secrets buried for centuries were about to surface. And somewhere far beyond Earth, something ancient had just opened its eyes again, and it was looking right at him, Jaden's heart pounded in his chest like a war drum. He folded the note slowly, his fingers trembling just a little, and slid it into the inside pocket of his jacket. Around him, the shuttle buzzed with tension. Nervous whispers turned into raised voices as passengers stared out the viewports, trying to get a glimpse of the mystery vessel that had flown past them. The pregnant woman had gone pale. She kept her hands protectively over her stomach, her eyes darting back and forth like she was calculating every possible way out of that tiny shuttle seat. Jaden didn't know what scared him more, whatever had just slammed into the shuttle's shields, or the fact that someone, somewhere, not only knew who he was but expected him to do something. Be something? He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a diplomat. Hell, he wasn't even old enough to vote. He was just a kid from Earth with decent grades, a half-broken home, and a stubborn habit of helping people when it would have been easier not to. A voice came over the intercom. Calm, too calm. Passengers remain seated. A minor hull disturbance was detected, but there's no immediate danger. Security is conducting a routine scan. Please stay calm. But nobody was calm, especially not Jaden. The woman, he still didn't know her name, leaned over, her voice low. They're lying, she whispered. That wasn't just a random scan. That was a threat check. Jaden frowned. A what? She glanced around, her voice dropping even lower. They're scanning for weapons, but not the usual kind, not guns or bombs. They're looking for something else. Energy signatures, DNA markers. Jaden stared at her. Why would they do that? She looked at him then, really looked. Because of you. He couldn't respond, couldn't breathe. The words clanged around in his head like metal dropped on concrete. Because of you. He sat back, trying to disappear into the curved wall of the shuttle, eyes darting toward the viewport again. That other ship, the one with no markings, was gone, for now. But Jaden knew enough about how these things went, even if he wasn't some intergalactic expert. He'd seen the vids, heard the news, read the files they gave him at the conference. Ships that moved like that didn't belong to friendly governments, and the Galactic Council sure as hell didn't ignore unauthorized flybys in their own orbit. Unless they had a reason to. Jaden's thoughts raced. Europa Prime, the Symposium, the Council. That weird last panel with the ambassador from the Venari Collective, the one who couldn't stop staring at him like he'd seen a ghost. That wasn't nothing. And neither was the fact that during one of the discussion breaks, Jaden's translator implant had picked up two diplomats whispering in Xylon dialect, something they assumed humans couldn't understand, talking. About the one who doesn't register, and the outlier Earth still doesn't know it has. He'd laughed it off at the time, thought maybe they were talking about someone else, but now it felt like they'd been talking about him the whole time. The woman beside him, still quiet, still watching, gave a slow exhale. I shouldn't even be talking to you. Then why are you? Because she told me I had to. Who is she? She hesitated. Then, someone who used to sit on the Galactic Council, someone who believed humans weren't a threat. She disappeared a few years ago. But before she did, she left behind a set of messages for people like me, to pass to people like you. Jaden blinked. People like me? You don't know yet, do you? She asked, her tone softening. You haven't felt it? I don't even know what it is. But even as he said it, something deep in his gut twisted, like a memory half remembered. Like a light flickering on the edge of his mind that hadn't quite turned all the way up. The shuttle docked at Earth's orbital station 43 minutes later. The rest of the ride passed in silence, save for the occasional whisper or cough. No more messages, no more flybys, but the tension stayed thick in the air like it had soaked into the walls of the shuttle itself. When the door finally hissed open, People flooded out fast, anxious to be back on solid ground. Jaden waited. Let the crowd pass, he didn't want to draw attention. The woman stayed seated until he turned to leave. "Be careful," she said simply. "They're watching you now." He glanced at her one last time. "You never told me. Your name?" She hesitated. "It's better if you don't know it." And with that, she was gone, vanishing into the mass of travelers like she'd never been there. Jaden stepped out onto the terminal platform. The smell of Earth's upper atmosphere filled his nose. Dry, metallic, oddly comforting. Screens above flashed rotating news. Tensions rising in Galactic Council over human expansion. Venari accuse Earth of unauthorized tech development. Mystery. Signals detected in deep void beyond Tau Ceti. He barely registered them. He walked slowly, mind reeling, past customs, past the long line of AI scans, until he reached the final checkpoint. A sleek android scanned his ID tag. There was a brief delay. Unusual. Then the screen flashed clear and the gate slid open. But for that one moment, barely half a second, he could have sworn he saw a different word flicker on the screen before it resolved. Flagged. Jaden didn't stop, didn't look back. But as he stepped onto the gravity lift down to Earth, he knew in his bones nothing was going to be the same again. He pulled out the note once more, staring at the words. They didn't make any more sense than before, but now they felt heavier, like a weight, like a promise, or a warning. And then right before the lift disengaged, a voice behind him spoke. Low, deep, and unfamiliar. "You were never supposed to make it this far, Jaden." He turned sharply, but the platform behind him was empty. The lift dropped. The stars above him grew smaller, and far above, somewhere in the cold dark, another ship, larger, older, silent, slipped into orbit, cloaked and watching, waiting.